So you're thinking about a trip to China? Awesome. But before you start packing, let's talk about something you might not have on your checklist, your clothes. Because what you wear might be sending messages you have no idea about. Today, we're going to break down some of those unwritten fashion rules so you can navigate your trip like a pro.
I know, that sounds a little dramatic, right? But seriously, sometimes a totally innocent logo or even just a color can have a completely different and sometimes pretty intense meaning in another culture. This isn't about being scared of making a mistake. It's about giving you that extra bit of confidence so you can really connect with the place you're visiting. Let's dive in. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at 5 key things. We'll start with signs and symbols that get lost in translation. Then touch on a bit of history. We'll explore why your stylish outfit might look like underwear to someone's grandpa, cover some super practical tips for comfort, and finish up with, of all things, flowers.
First up, signs and symbols. This is where it gets really fascinating, because a couple of letters or a simple hat might be saying something you really don't mean to say. Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off with this one. The letters S and B. Seems harmless, right? Well, in Chinese slang, SB is a really harsh insult. We're not talking a playful jab here, it's genuinely rude, kind of like a really vulgar word for idiot. And this is why context is everything. You see Chesty SB and you might think, I don't know, Super Bowl, somebody, Stony Brook University, all totally normal things. But in China, for many people, the first thing that comes to mind is that insult. So yeah, that cool t-shirt you have, it might be getting you some very weird looks, maybe even a few giggles. And this is a real-world thing. Our source shared the story about her friend who actually went to Stony Brook. And because all the cool university gear was plastered with a giant SB, she never bought a single sweatshirt or t-shirt. It just, wasn't worth the hassle. Next up, let's talk about the infamous green hat. In China, there's this super well-known saying, to wear a green hat, which means your wife or girlfriend is cheating on you. It's basically a national inside joke that literally everyone knows. So if you're a guy wearing a green hat, it's not like you're going to offend anyone, but you will almost certainly get a few smirks from people in the know. But hey, on a much more positive note, let's flip a number on its head. The number 666. In the West, it's got all these dark, demonic vibes, right? Well, in Chinese online culture, it's slang for awesome or cool. It's pronounced liu, liu, liu. And it's just a quick way to say something is really good. A total 180. Okay, moving on to our second point. Sometimes the issue isn't slang, it's history. And in certain places, what you wear can accidentally touch on some very sensitive historical wounds. So let's talk about the city of Nanjing. It's a beautiful, modern city and a major tourist spot. But it's also a place that holds some really deep historical trauma from the Second World War. This history is a huge part of the city's identity, and it's treated with a lot of seriousness and respect. So here's the key thing to know. While a kimono is obviously a beautiful piece of clothing, wearing one in the city of Nanjing or in any history-focused museum in China could be seen as really insensitive. It's all about showing respect for the local history. Now, if you're at other tourist spots that aren't related to that history, it's generally not an issue at all. All right, let's shift gears from heavy history to something a little closer to home. Let's talk about a fashion staple that can get seriously lost in translation between generations. I'm talking about leggings. And this right here perfectly explains the disconnect. To many of us, leggings are just pants. They're comfy, they're stylish, they're what you wear to go out. But for a lot of folks in China's older generation, they look almost exactly like long johns. The thermal underwear they wore to stay warm in the winter. And you just don't go outside in your underwear. You've got to hear this story from our source. Her friend was all dressed in leggings, ready to head out, when her dad literally stopped her at the door. He was genuinely confused and asked her, "Where are your outside pants?" He truly, 100%, thought she was about to walk out the door in her long underwear. But here's the funny thing. While leggings might get you a weird look from an older person, in a super modern city like Shanghai, it is totally and completely normal to see people wearing their full-on pajama sets outside, like popping down to the grocery store or grabbing a snack. It's a quirky, common sight. Now let's get into some purely practical advice. This stuff has less to do with cultural meanings and everything to do with just making your trip way more comfortable. 2 things here are absolutely key. First, comfortable shoes. This is non-negotiable.
You're going to be walking a ton, and so many temples and sites have what feels like a million stairs. Second, think about wearing pants or maybe shorter dresses. Why? Well, you're probably going to encounter squat bathrooms, and trust me, trying to navigate one in a long, flowy dress is an adventure you might not want. Okay, we're at our final point, and it's one you might not expect: flowers. Yeah, specifically the symbolism of wearing them. See, in a lot of Western cultures, a white flower is just pretty, maybe elegant for a wedding. But in China, a white flower worn in your hair or pinned to your shirt is very, very strongly associated with mourning. It's a symbol that a close family member has recently passed away. And a special heads up for chrysanthemums. Bouquets of white and yellow chrysanthemums are like the funeral flower. So if you're carrying a bouquet of those around a mall, you're going to seem really out of place, and locals will probably find it pretty strange. So, after all these little warnings, what's the big takeaway here? It's this: please don't feel scared or worried. The absolute worst thing that's going to happen is you might get a few confused stares. This whole guide isn't about creating anxiety. It's about giving you that little bit of insider knowledge that makes a good trip a really, really great one. It just shows that a little awareness goes such a long way. So go, explore, and have an amazing time.